What is up, everybody? This is Big Zess here, and welcome back to my channel. We are back in Star Citizen, in particular, with the new update, the 4.7 update. I hope you guys are enjoying the 4.7 update as much as I have as well. But 4.7 has changed a lot of different things, and as you know, not only is there new missions and crafting and very exciting things put into the game, but most importantly, there has been changes to ships with their armor changes and shields and weapons. And so with all these different changes that has come to ships and ship combat, it has really had me reevaluate my priorities when it comes to choosing a ship to fly around in the verse in. And so this is why, in this video, we're going to be discussing the ship that is behind me, which is this behemoth, the M2 Hercules, or in general, the Hercules line of Crusader ships. So, once again, this is the M2 variant. This is the military Hercules variant. There are two other variants, one being the C2. It's more of the civilian cargo hauler. And then there is the A2, which is also a military ship, but a bomber. So it drops very heavy bombs. This is the M2, sort of the middle of the road between those two variants. But with it being a military version, you get a little bit reduced cargo capacity. On grid, that is. But the cargo bay between the M2 and the C2 are practically the same. The A2 being the only one that has a meaningful reduced cargo bay. But regardless, this thing is a behemoth of a ship. And with the 4.7 changes, its health and shields and all that armor also reflects that, along with many other ships that are in the game now. So if you don't know, with the 4.7 changes, how armor and shields and all that stuff works now in comparison to what it used to be, now each ship has a particular deflection value. We'll put it that way. So we're going to bring over Urkel over here. Okay. Right now I have my M2 selected with how I have it currently configured. But down here where it shows the armor values, we see here that there is a deflection for physical and also a deflection for energy. So the way that it works now in 4.7 is that if a weapon that you are being shot at with, so if the enemy is shooting at you with, let's say, ballistics, the ballistic weapon will have to do an alpha damage of 110 or higher in order to actually do any damage to your armor and pierce your hull. Likewise, with the energy, it would have to do 80 alpha damage or higher to do any type of damage to your hull. You can press this button here that shows deflection check, and you can see all a list of weapons that you're able to deflect from your armor, and other weapons that go through your armor. And we can also select here different weapon types. So, for example, if we are curious about Gatling guns, okay, ballistic Gatling guns. So, to sum it up, with these Hercules line of ships, because the deflection values are all the same, regardless of which Hercules line of ship you choose, whether it's the A2, the M2, or the C2, it's all the same, 110 and 80. Okay. The only thing that they differ in is shield pool size, the A2 being the highest, along with the armor pool size being the highest, and the HP pool being the highest, but also having the lowest amount of cargo size. The A2 having a decent shield pool size, decent armor pool size, and really good health pool size, along with really good cargo size. And the C2 again being the lowest of the three. But anyway, again, going back to this deflection check, okay, or we click on Gatlings, for example. So people shooting at you with ballistic Gatlings, they will need to have a size 5 Gatling gun, so an ADB 5, a Draugr, an NV57, or, you know, the size 7 gun from the Inferno. Okay. They have to be really big guns. This has completely shifted the meta and shifted the way that people kind of think about their loadouts when it comes to flying different ships. Because in previous patches, what would generally happen is people will be in these light fighters with size 2, size 3 CF repeaters or, you know, ballistic Gatling guns, and it would completely dominate PvP. Or people who are in bigger ships didn't really have any kind of defense. With these changes, now you have some defense. People who are in those smaller ships have to be more tactful and have to be more strategic in how they engage you. So this would be like the Revenant Gatling. That was a very popular Gatling that people would use. Or even the Alpha Wolf Gatling gun would also be a very popular ship that people would use. And the Scorpions, right? Now they would have to target your engines, your thrusters. They'll have to target your turrets. Like the philosophy has shifted from just overwhelming you with firepower and outmaneuvering you to now they need to disable you and probably board your ship or try to board your ship. So this gives you options. As someone who flies in a much bigger ship now, you have options. You can go into quantum, like turn on your quantum drive and just jump away because they can't pierce through your armor anyway. Or you can fight back because you have a chance now. So I'm really enjoying the changes that this update has made as far as people who like to fly in bigger ships. And also for PvE, this has also completely changed things where now in most missions, you don't even get scratched. But anyway, that is a super long intro, but that just gives you a little bit of an understanding in what the philosophy is and why it is that I'm choosing the Hercules line of ships. But let's go ahead and look on the inside. But before we go on there are 3 entrances to the Hercules lines of ships. They're all the same. They're just different, HP and stuff like that. So there's a front ramp, there is an elevator, and then there is a back ramp. Okay. Here is the back ramp here. Go ahead and open that up. And the elevator, which comes down here. All right. We're going to take the elevator in. I'm going to go ahead and go to the lower deck first. This will be the cargo deck. And once again, the cargo deck for the M2 and the C2 are pretty much the exact same. It's just the cargo grid, so where you can snap cargo onto the grid is a bit different. But anyway, let's actually go to the front here. In 4.7, I don't know what's going on, but there's some bug going on where the interior lights and ships are just not working the way that they're supposed to. So we're going to go ahead and close this, turn the lights on successfully. But we have this humongous, and I really do mean humongous amount of space down here in the cargo hold. So much so that I'm able to hold all these vehicles and, cargo boxes and this new crafting machine, along with a whole other spaceship, a golem. Yeah. So this M2 spaceship is basically my mobile base, right? I have everything that I need in here with me in order to accompany whatever type of mission that I would like to set out to do. I have my trusty MTC for my grounding excursions, a NERSA to respawn. I have a CSV to gather some components. I have some components loaded in there right now. When it is I do the looting that way. I have my rock and my geo when I need to do some ground mining. I have some hover bikes here, just in case I want to do a little bit of scouting on the ground, or if I die and I need a quick way to get back to my MTC, respawning in here. And then I have my golem for mining, gathering materials for the new crafting that has been added to the game, whether it's iron, tungsten, hephaestonite, whatever it is that I need to get. I can go out there, get it with the golem, come back in here, and there's plenty of extra space around to swap out the ore bags if need be, and load it back up to have like a full-blown mining operation. So this ship really can do it all. And we have this amazing amount of cargo space to be able to accommodate all of those different activities. That's pretty much it. The cargo bay is very simple. It's just a cargo bay. There's really nothing else down here. We do have a fire extinguisher there, relay system here, and that's pretty much it. You can open up the front door and the back door, and we can go up either using the ladder that is here, which is faster, or we're going to go ahead and take the elevator to the top deck. The ladder is usually the better way to get up and down and out of the ship. Okay, so in this top deck, once again, we have this bug going on where the lights won't stay on. Okay, so all right, so we have the lights on again, and we're going to go ahead and start here. So in the M2 variant, the A2 and the C2, they're all pretty much the same. With general layout, there will be the key changes that are different between the A2, the M2, and the C2 is really the auxiliary rooms that are over here. But they all have pretty much the same habitation here. And this middle row is also pretty much the same, with all three variants. So in here, starting here, we have life support. Okay. And it's mirrored on the other side. Same thing, life support. Go ahead and close that. And then every other bay after that is going to be storage. So in here, I have a lot of my extra armor or a certain weapon, ammo, food, stuff like that. Things that I can just grab on the fly before I take the elevator down, to do whatever it is that I need to do. And there's plenty of other extra storage bays all along the middle here. So there's in total, I believe, about 6. Yeah, there's 3 on that side and then 3 on this side. So plenty of internal storage for you to utilize between you and possibly some other crew members. The M2 variant, once again, is a military variant. It is categorized as the vehicle carrier variant and also a drop ship variant. So this room varies between the C2 and the A2. In particular, the M2 variant, this is where you have military drop seats. So we have a total of 12 drop seats for 12 extra passengers. We have 2 bathrooms, or no, just 1 bathroom. Sorry about that. There's supposed to be a toilet here, but it doesn't seem like there is one right now. Could be a glitch, could be a bug. These rooms, for whatever reason, will not light up. It's just constantly dark in here. But going into here, we have our armory. And in the armory, we have a total of 16 long gun racks and 24 small gun racks and 4 large gun racks for like boom tubes, rail guns, things of that nature. So got 8 on this side and 12 small on this side, and then another 8 on this side and 12 small on this side. So lots of gun storage for all of your mates that you're bringing along with you, or even for yourself if you're going to be collecting. We have 8 suit lockers, and then above each of these lockers we have additional storage. Okay, that we can utilize. All right. So the A2 and the M2, so only the A2 and M2 variants of this ship has this armory. Okay, I want to make sure that that's very clear. The A2 and the M2 are the only ones that have the armory in here. The C2 does not have the armory. So the A2 and the M2 are the only ones that have this extra storage, but it's not all that important. There's plenty of other storage, as we are already seen within the middle row here. Okay, so if you want to save some money, the C2 would probably be a decent option. Okay, moving on over here, we have a lot of the engineering components. There's nothing in this bay, to my knowledge, but there is a cooler and yeah, so this is one of the coolers. This is power plant, military grade. You also get military grade components when you get the military ships, being the M2 or the A2. Mirrored on the other side here, another cooler and another power plant. Once again, military grade. And then in here you have your quantum drive with jump module. This one I actually upgraded. I love to use the grade A industrial ones. They tend to be the most fuel efficient. Okay. And then over here we have our habitation area, and the habitation area are pretty much identical with all 3 variants. So we have kind of the pilots or captains bunk here, and then the other 2 crew members being the gunner and the co-pilot's bunk here, with 2 bathrooms. Okay. And some lockers for suits or some sort that you can hang up there. Also mirrored the same on this side as well. Okay. We do not have storage above the bunks. You'll just have to utilize the storage that's in the middle row down there. And then we have the kitchen area in here. A little teddy bear underneath the table. Okay. 1 fire extinguisher there, just so you guys know. And now we're going to be moving towards the bridge. In here we have our battery bays. All right. Some relays. And then in here we should have our shield generators. Also military grade components. And then in here before the bridge, we have escape pods. Okay. And in previous videos, like I said in previous videos, these are not active in the game yet. So I just use them for trash. This one in particular, I have quite a few bottles of stuff that I've been drinking as I've been flying around in the verse. And then in here we have our avionics on both sides here. And now we are on the bridge. And in the bridge, we have 3 different seats. Here we have the gunner seat, similar to the Corsair. This gunner seat actually, like the co-pilot seat in the Corsair, this gunner seat takes over some of the pilot-controlled guns. And so the same philosophy that I would, explain, like those who would be in the Corsair, you don't want to take firepower away from the pilot. You just want to add firepower to the pilot. Like that's the philosophy that we want to go with. So if you're going to have a co-pilot or someone who's going to be flying with you, maybe if it's just a crew of 2 people, leave this seat empty and just have them go in the co-pilot seat, because the co-pilot has access to the other remote turrets that would actually add firepower and not take firepower away. If that makes sense. But before we get to that seat, we do have the engineering terminal here. And I genuinely have to say that this engineering terminal is probably one of the most convenient engineering terminals in a ship that I've seen in the game, because it's literally right here on the bridge. And so that's pretty rare to see. So as soon as you get out of a firefight, as soon as you get out of an engagement, like I was saying with the new 4.7 changes, it's very important to keep an eye on your armor and your hull health, because although your ship has very high armor and has a very high deflection rating, if you encounter enemies that actually do have high enough alpha damage to pierce your hull or to pierce your armor health starts to deplete. And the lower your armor gets, the more lower caliber, we'll call it, or lower alpha damage weapons, they start to have an opportunity to pierce your armor. And so I can also show that on the Urkel website here. Okay. So let's say, for example, we'll take in the M2, right? And we see, for example, like this 11 series broadsword ballistic cannon gets deflected. Well, let's say if my health goes down to about 90%, right? So now that my health is down to 90%, that broadsword cannon that we saw a little bit earlier, it's able to deflect it now, right? Or it's able to penetrate it. Sorry. It's able to penetrate it now, because with 90% armor health, more of these weapons are able to penetrate, if that makes sense. So we're still deflecting most of the ballistic weapons with a 90%. Let's actually change this here. Yeah, so that was the only ballistic cannon that had that much of an alpha that's able to get through. But we continue to have our armor health go down, let's say down to maybe 60%. And now ADB4s can get through. Goes down even further to 40. Now breaknecks can get through, and the Alpha Wolf Gatlings can get through, and the Revenants can get through, right? So again, just something that you need to be mindful of. You can always check your armor health. Your armor health is not something that you can repair using a multi-tool or a Cambrio Light SRT. You can only repair your hull. Your armor will have to be repaired at a landing station. You have to actually go to a station, land, and use the repair button through the little landing screen here. Okay. Let's get into the co-pilot seat here. And like I was saying, we don't want to take firepower away from the pilot. We want to add firepower. And with this remote turret, you want to right click and you can enter either the front or the rear remote turret. So this is the rear one, or down below. Okay. I've held the Y button too long. All right, so we can either choose to go to the turret below, or we can go to the turret above, and this is on the back of the ship. So the best turret to probably select will be the turret that's actually below, because it gives you the most widest coverage, 360 degrees, whereas the one on the back, you can only protect what's behind you, which is, to be honest, that's usually where enemies will actually try to engage you with. They'll either try to be below you or above you, to maneuver out of the pilot's sight, if you will. So if you're fortunate enough to have a gunner fly with you, have them go into the co-pilot seat with the M2. In the A2, this is where the A2 differs between the M2. In the A2, this room, instead of being drop seats, it's literally just filled with remote turrets. The A2 is by far the most heavily armed, Crusader ship in the game. There's just literally turrets everywhere. And so you can probably get a crew of like 6-7 people if you wanted. And that's also a flying tank. The shields, they have been completely remodeled to where they have increased the shield health pool by almost double with most ships. So I believe in 4.6, the M2 was already, a flying tank. It always had a really high health pool, as you see here, over 100k. But its shield pool is now over 260,000. And if you get the A2 variant, okay, you now have a shield pool of almost 400,000. So it takes a lot to take the shields down from the A2. But you're sacrificing quite a bit of cargo capacity. But you are gaining over 2 million damage potential with bombs. So keep that in mind. All right, I am currently in the C2 variant of the Hercules. At the moment, I just wanted to show you the differences with the room here. In this room here, in the C2 variant, it's pretty much just a recreation. We have a bench here for folks to watch TV. We got some shelves here, a refrigerator, kitchen area, and then a little bench nook. And then over here, okay, we do not have the kitchen as we do in the M2 or the A2 variant. It's basically just put on the other side. And we still have the same sort of living conditions here. That being, with the C2 variant, you only have 2 bunks instead of 3. because there's also on the bridge here, there is no gunner. There is no gunner seat. But you don't need it because this whole gunner seat takes over the chin guns. If it had chin guns like it does on the M2 and A2, this is not the type of seat that you want to use anyway. You want to use the co-pilot seat, which still has guns, I believe. On the C2 variant, still has guns on the bottom and on the top. Yeah, so we still have the gun that's on the bottom. And we still have... Oh, whoops. Yeah, we still have the gun that's on the back. We also have the same cargo hold. This is the C2 variant. This is the same cargo hold as the M2. The C2 having more available grid space, but the overall layout of the cargo hold is the exact same. So you can get the exact same amount of vehicles and a little bit more cargo. I purely use the C2 specifically for cargo hauling because it just makes the most sense. The M2 is my mobile base. And here we have the biggest and baddest of the Hercules lineup, the A2 Hercules. It varies with the M2 by having the most amount of armament. We have a turret here. We have a turret in the back, down over here, right here. We have a turret over here. We have a turret right there. We have a turret right there. We have a turret on the top. We have a turrets everywhere. Also, we have in the cargo bay, we have certain differences as well. We have the bombs. The bomb bays here. We have a total of 4 bombs. And it's a bit restricted because we need to have space for the bombs. This little walkway in between the bombs, you can still fit a vehicle back here. I would typically recommend something of a Cyclone size or smaller. Although, if you really wanted to, you could get a Nursa in here. If you wanted to, you can squeeze one and just have it have its wheels up on the guard railing here if you just want to have something back here for a spawn point. And then with everything else from here forward is pretty much the same thing as the M2, where you can have, or the C2, where you can have other vehicles such as, hover bikes, whatever it is that you want. And then from about here or so is where I have my golem kind of sitting here. So you can still utilize the A2 pretty much just as much as the M2 or the C2, albeit it's restricted in space. Its biggest downside is not having as much grid space. You can't snap things on the grid as much in this ship, which does matter. You're restricted all the way down to only 216 SCU in this ship. And you can see this little line here. That's where the cargo would be snapped to. Okay, and you have it on both sides. You have it here as well. So it's quite restricted. It only goes up to about here on this side. And then on this side from here to here. So do with that what you will. But you definitely do get quite a bit of firepower and quite a bit of defensive capabilities with this ship. We're also going to see the differences on the top here. Turn on the lights. Okay, so we're going to go into this variation room. This is, as the door shows, it's the turrets. So you have, just like we showed on the bottom, each one of these seats here gives you access to a different turret on the bottom there. And then we have the same armory that we had in the M2 is also here in the A2 with the extra storage. And then in the room over on this side with habitation, it's pretty much the same thing as the M2, where we have the kitchen in here, and then the habitation for a lot more crew members, because now we have a lot more turrets. So pretty much just bunk beds. Total of 8 bunk beds instead of 3 and a couple TVs. So that's pretty much the differences between the C2, A2, and M2. The bridge, we still have same 3 seats. And this seat is still just as useless as in the other 2 ships, only controlling the front gun. Okay, anyway, we're going to go ahead and start to fly this ship.
Engines on. Launch.
Right. Right. This M2 here, with its current configuration that I have set up, I have most of my power into shields, because those shields are going to be very important. The new radar changes that have been introduced to the game, we now have the ability to um what I want to say, customize. Yes, we now have the ability to customize what type of radar we want to use. And so stock, the M2 comes with a surveyor radar, as you see here, and has with only 1 pip in it. It only has a aim assist distance of 1,300 meters. You can see here the reticle for the guns has changed. So if you're not locked on to someone and you're not targeting something, your reticle is just going to be this sort of, I don't know what to call it, half circle. You can still shoot, but you're not going to be given that crosshair to give you those precision type shots. And the radar now, right, depending on what radar you use and how much power you put into the radar, will tell you the maximum distance at which your aim assist will actually engage. Okay. So if you want to have, you have to think about this in a very logical manner, because so many different things have been rebalanced with this game, with the armor deflection changes, and now you really have to be mindful of what type of how much aim assist distance, or the maximum distance, is what it is that you truly need. What I mean by that is I have attrition loadout or attrition setup on my M2, because attrition's, the alpha damage is really high, like 330, almost 330 with the attrition 5s, and then I think about 200 something with the attrition 4s at 202. So there is no ship in the game currently that can deflect these weapons. However, the downside of using attritions is that its projectile speed is pretty slow, which means the engagement distances to be consistent with landing your hits on target is going to be generally a bit lower than 1,300 meters. Okay. So really only 1,000 meters is what's really required if you're going to be doing dogfighting, which is not really what I'm going to be doing in this ship. Um, Pretty much what my philosophy has been when it comes to the M2 or the Hercules line of ships. This goes across the board, not just for my M2, but also for the A2 and the C2 because I own all three. I wanted to ensure that I had the maximum amount of aim assist distance, but at the same time prioritizing full power and shields and as much power as possible into the engines. And so I have switched out my coolers so I can turn one of them off. Uh, I then also changed my radar to the I think it's the SNS R7X. This one requires only 3 pips, but it also gives you the absolute max amount of aim assist distance for only 3 pips. And then I put all the rest of the power into the engines and still have just enough cooling to keep the ship afloat. So that allows me to have as much boost regen as possible because this ship really lacks in mobility, but also giving me as much firepower and the maximum amount of aim assist distance that's reasonable with the type of weapon loadout that I have. Okay. I hope that breakdown has made some sense to you. All right. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be engaging in the gameplay loop that I've been sort of busy with for the past couple of days. Like I just mentioned, crafting is in the game now, and everyone is on the hunt for blueprints. And so one of the missions that I have been doing in order to go after a particular blueprint, I'm really hunting for a pulverizer blueprint. I've been doing this unverified, all things come to an end mission. Okay. There is another website that you can use. This is called the SCMDB. This is the Star Citizen mission database website you can go to. This has a list of all the different missions that are available in Star Citizen. And with the new 4.7 update, the blueprints of what you're after, if you're looking for a particular blueprint, you can just go into the search bar. I put in pulverizer. Okay. And there's only these 2 missions that has the pulverizer LMG within its reward pool. So once you're done, once you complete the contract, you have a chance to get one of these 11 blueprints. And so far, you can, once you have completed a contract, it usually shows on the top of your screen what type of blueprint that you have been awarded. But if in case you miss it, you can just go down to your crafting station, which I'm going to do right now. And you can see here on the screen all the blueprints that you've been awarded. So I've been awarded quite a bit of blueprints already. I already have the ammo for the pulverizer unlocked. I just need to get the gun. So here are the weapons that I have unlocked so far. I have the kill shot, the dead rig, P4, and a parallax. So I'm looking for the pulverizer. So we're going to go ahead and get this mission done, or I'm going to show you how I do this mission with my M2. And see if we can get this blueprint for the pulverizer. Every Crusader line or Hercules line of ships, A2, C2, M2, all of them have the same amount of fuel capacity, being 6.6 of quantum fuel and 130-ish worth of hydrogen fuel. And ironically enough, this is the first ship that I have owned and have flown quite a bit where I have to be mindful of the hydrogen fuel capacity. This being a much bigger ship, it uses quite a bit of hydrogen fuel pretty quickly. And I've gotten it all the way down to about 30-40% once. Didn't run out, but it's the first ship that I've flown that's gotten that low so fast. The quantum fuel, it's a decent amount for a ship of this size. It has a size 3 quantum drive, so it is a bit more uh, fuel hungry. We'll put it that way. uh, but you can still go well over 300 GMs if you have the proper quantum drive, which is the Erebos that I have in mind. So, not as much as the Carrack, which can go almost double that amount of distance, uh, but it's a decent amount. All right, we are coming up on the target now. With this mission, sometimes they can be outside, but it's pretty much just a standard, uh, go into the bunker, assassinate a certain person. This being an illegal mission, most of the illegal missions you actually have a chance to get a crime stat. This is the only one so far that I know of. There's probably some more, but this is one that you do not get a crime stat. So this is why we're doing this one. But once again, sometimes they stand outside, and sometimes you're actually given the opportunity to just drop a bomb if you wanted to. So if you wanted to have some fun in the A2, literally just drop a bomb and blow everything up, even the turrets. It'll be great. So here I have like I was saying before, I now have the crosshairs when I'm locked on to a turret. They also don't engage you from 1.5 kilometers anymore. You have to be within 700 meters in order for the turrets to actually start shooting at you. But so I'm going to go ahead and get closer here. I'll put my shields facing forward, and hopefully I can start to aggro them. I'm really close now, like 300 meters. Oh, he is outside. Easy. They're still not shooting at me, though. Okay, I think they're going to start shooting at me now. Okay. Yeah, with the updated shield pool, it takes them a very long time, especially if you divert your shields towards the front or to whatever face the turrets are shooting at you from. It takes a very long time for them to actually get through your shield. So you can sit here for quite a while taking fire. But you can make really quick work of these turrets. Yeah, they don't last very long. Getting shot with attritions. But yeah, so I was pretty lucky there where he was standing outside. So depending on what ship I was flying, it could have been the A2. Could have dropped a bomb or just shot him. We can go ahead and jump to another star system, because these missions are actually on a cooldown of 15 minutes. So instead of waiting 15 minutes, you can just jump to another star system and do the mission over again to see what type of reward you got. But before I do a jump, because I didn't see a reward come up on the top of my screen, so we're just going to check real quick to see whether or not we got the pulverizer. Nope, we didn't. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move to another system and do it all over again. Okay, so we have arrived here in the ArcCorp system. We're going to go ahead and take that mission once again. All things come to an end. All right, so we're really just going in here so we can neutralize the target and get right back on out. Move on to the next system if we need to.
Here we go! Shit! We're down one! Shit! They just killed us! Lost one! Shit! We're under attack! Here we go! Oh, damn! Holy shit! On now! They just killed him! Got tagged!
All right, contract complete. We're out of here. The turrets, they do respawn after a little while. You could, if you want to loot these bunkers, it's wise to just park a little bit of ways away, as you would usually do when doing bunker running. But this method of just destroying the turrets so that way I can land real quick, I'm just going in and out. All right. So unlike the smaller variant, the C1 or A1 that only has one entrance, I really appreciate the Hercules line having multiple entrances. Because with this being a much bigger ship, as you see, you don't always get afforded the luxury of landing in a more advantageous positions. So, okay, let's see if we got this blueprint. And sadly, we did not. Well, on to the next system. Sadly, I didn't get it. All right. Well, I think I'm going to end this video here and continue to search for that blueprint on my own. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and learned a little bit more about the Hercules lineup and a bit more about the 4.7 changes. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought about the video, and also let me know what kind of ships you are moving towards or leaning more towards, or maybe even what type of ship you like to fly now with these new 4.7 changes, or if these 4.7 changes have changed your philosophy on what type of spaceship that you want to utilize moving forward. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there, and peace.